most common pieces of advice that I hear from clubs and second-hand from other players who have heard it in clubs is you have to stand square. You have to stand square to the shot. Well, what does that mean? First of all, what it means is that both feet are to be at 90 degrees to the line of aim of shot. If I was playing the ball in the middle pocket here, that would mean that both these feet would be at a square angle, a 90-degree angle to the line of aim. The problem with that is that it's not always appropriate for actually the majority of players. And the reason for that is that it can push, and often does push, the hip into toward the cue. So with a square stance, my hip is uncomfortably close to the cue, unless I go very wide to move the hip away. Now we can avoid this issue by moving the foot forward slightly. As I move the foot further forward, I get even more space here. So I go further back, I get even less space. So that's one reason why having a square stance is actually wrong for some players, because it restricts their movement of cueing and their freedom of cueing. Everyone has a different physiology, so it's appropriate to optimize your stance rather than follow a dogma of you have to stand square or you have to stand in the boxer stance, which is with the front foot more at a 30 or perhaps 45-degree angle to the line of aim. Rather, it's appropriate to test the full range of positions of the foot or the stance angle and test which moves the cue the straightest. Whatever in your technique moves the cue the straightest, do that. Whatever moves the cue not in a straight line, then don't do that. The way to optimize your stance angle is start where you normally stand. Then move the foot a little bit further forward. A bit further forward again, that's beginning to be uncomfortable for me now. That's feeling a bit better. That feels better. No, actually that feels better. This is feeling a bit tight now. Bit of tension in the shoulder here. Backwards of square now, backwards of a square stance. That feels very unbalanced and tight in the legs. There was one player, I was talking about this with a client today actually, there's one player I worked with, we went through this optimization routine, and it's the only player I can think of who I've worked with where, given the choice of all different positions, and this doesn't mean, given the choice doesn't mean sticking with what's familiar. Familiar doesn't mean control. Familiar doesn't mean that you're necessarily moving the cue as straight as it can go. We did an optimization drill, like I've just done, and for him, the cue moved at its best and under most control with the foot slightly backwards of square. So he was a couple of inches backwards of square, and that was entirely appropriate for him. And that's okay. So rather than feeling you have to follow a dogma of being square or having the boxer stance, optimize your stance and find which one allows your cue to move straighter than all the other stances.